Hi, I'm Kathleen Kavkara from Trinity Church. This is a story for the small groups at Trinity, and the small groups are studying right now Bible stories everyone should know. This week we're talking about one of the stories everyone should know from the life of Jesus. Over previous weeks, we have talked about Jesus' ministry in Galilee and what has happened there. There are parallels in the stories in Jesus' ministry in Judea. But in Galilee, if you remember, we talked about Jesus' rejection at Nazareth when he read from the scroll of Isaiah. And we talked about Jesus talking about the Sabbath as he and his disciples were accused of working on the Sabbath by plucking pieces of wheat from fields. Today, we're talking, last time we talked about Jesus and the children. But today, we're talking about another story that could be seen as a parallel to Jesus feeding his followers with the loaves and the fishes. But I've never looked at this story that way before. I wonder if you can recognize it as I start to tell it, because this is the image for the story. It's not the image I usually associate with this story. Well, as Jesus and his disciples were traveling to Jerusalem, they passed through the city of Jericho, and there they met a man named Zacchaeus. Zacchaeus was rich. He was a tax collector. He took money from his neighbors for the Romans, and he took a little bit more for himself. People hated Zacchaeus just as they hated most tax collectors and anyone else who worked for the Romans. But Zacchaeus heard that Jesus was coming to town, and he wanted to see Jesus, but he was too short. So Zacchaeus climbed a sycamore tree, and there he could see Jesus. He was somehow drawn to Jesus. He didn't know why. As Jesus and the disciples passed by, they looked up and they saw Zacchaeus in the sycamore tree. And Jesus said to Zacchaeus, "Zacchaeus, come down quickly. I'm going to stay with you today." The people who heard that were angry and upset. Zacchaeus was a sinner. Why was Jesus going to his house to eat? But Zacchaeus didn't understand why Jesus was going to his house either. All he knew was that he suddenly felt grateful, and he felt like his life had changed. Zacchaeus said to Jesus, "Anything that I have taken from my neighbors, I will give back and 4 times more. And I'm going to give half of everything that I have to the poor." Jesus said, "Today salvation has come to this household." And then they sat down and enjoyed a meal together around the table. It was kind of like a Holy Communion. Now, I wonder what part of this story you like the best. I wonder what part of the story you remembered when you'd heard it before. And I wonder what part of the story you will remember now. Talk about this in your group.